Welcome back to the grind. In this video, we're going to talk about the updated Kingdom Wars with Dragon Defenders. Now, this is from their blog post that I'm sharing this, and if you do hear some random squeaking and shuffling around in the background, please excuse me. That is my puppy. She is pretty fantastic. Anyways, let's get into it. So, this new update is going to change a lot about Kingdom Wars, and some of it is interesting. I'm interested to see how it works out, but I do have a lot of significant hesitations with this. So the map looks like will be starting very similar, and there will be minor and major monuments still, but the main difference is that each region, which used to be individual hexes or territories, each region will now consist of multiple bases that can be captured and owned. And the owner of that region is the team who has taken control of the most bases. Now, those bases will each have a certain amount of HP. So the way I look at it is this is essentially a whole bunch of territories packed into one region. And the owner of that region now is whoever has controlled the most territories or bases within it. Once you control a base, it will have a certain amount of HP. And they say that each base will have the same amount of HP to start with, but that you can add on Dragon Defenders to increase the HP of that base, meaning that opponents will have to do more damage to take them out. But the interesting thing is that over time, the HP of that base will decrease. So eventually, they'll only have to do one attack to destroy it. Now, that may take a full day or so, but that is something that kind of is frustrating. But let's go through this a little bit more systematically. So they're going to have bases up to level 450, so that's kind of interesting. I wonder how difficult those will be. Each base will have an HP value. All bases will have the same HP within the league, and the minors and major monuments will have more HP. Every attack that you do will deal damage to that base, which is determined by the base's level. So I'm assuming that the higher level bases will take more attacks because each attack will do less damage, meaning it'll be easier to take control of the lower level bases, but they're less individual points, and I think they'll be worth less to controlling the majority. But I don't know for sure. Teams can attack bases in regions that are next to any region of which they have majority control. So just because you have attacked a region and controlled a single base does not mean that you will be able to push further out, because if another team controls two bases, they will have the majority, and that will be their controlled territory. So you will have to overtake them in the points before you can push further outward. Now, each team will have a different progress bar so that each one will have to win like it was before. Now, after the base is conquered, there will be a 15-minute immunity period to allow people to put on their Dragon Defenders to make it more difficult for enemies to defeat the base that they have just taken. Now, this is what the screen will look like when you want to place your defender. The dragon will add HP based on the level or the tier of the dragon, as well as the level that the dragon is. So if you have a Empyrean dragon and it's maxed level, that will be better than an Empyrean that is level 1, and I assume a Garnet dragon max level will not be as good as an Empyrean level 1. So once you have claimed a base, each player can assign a dragon to that base. It'll be one dragon per player per base. So each hex has 30 bases, so you can apply 30 dragons to that hex, but all on different bases if you control all of them. They cannot be used for attacks or anything else within the event, but you can use them outside the event. And the base's HP will be raised based on the dragon's tier and level, as I mentioned. And that will make the base harder to overtake, meaning it'll take more attacks, but doesn't actually make the base harder to win against. So the base decay, if you have a hexagon that you control, each base will slowly lose HP over time down to a minimum of 1. It won't go to 0. The way to prevent the base HP from decaying, unfortunately, is to surround it by hexes that you control. If you surround it by a full 6 regions, it will not decay at all. If you only have 1 or 2, it will slow down the decay, but it will still lose HP over time. Now, this is interesting too. If a base HP decays below the progress of another team, that team will take over the base. So if, for example, you take control of a base and over time it begins to decay, and during that time the opponents start attacking that base but only get to about 50% of the HP taken down, and then they get distracted by other regions that they're trying to conquer or control primarily. Now, over time when it decays, it gets down to 50%. And there's nothing you can do to stop it, because there is nothing that you can do to slow down the decay. For example, by attacking that base again, there's nothing that you can do unless you surround it completely by hexes that you own. So that is very frustrating, because obviously it's frustrating that you just have to control so much more, and in order to control it, you have to control so many more bases within that territory. So it just sounds like a whole lot more to do than it was before. Now, the base boost bonus will, if you have claimed the base boost, whether you've claimed half or all, you will actually add an increase in 1 or 2% for the bases. Now, this is nice for those who claimed it during the discount period, but very frustrating for those who didn't claim it during the discount period and otherwise might have if they knew it would help with this event. Sorry about that. And how will you earn victory points? Each region is worth victory points, and for every hour you gain victory points based on what you own. And the control over a region is determined by the glory values of each base in that region. And the stronger bases are worth more. See, so if you defeat a stronger base within that region, then you'll have more points, should you say, or glory value towards owning it. So it's not necessarily a majority of the bases, but a majority glory value points. So if you claim the bottom 20 bases, I don't expect that they would make that more valuable than the top 5 bases. So you really do want to fight for the top bases, and unfortunately those are going to be harder they'll require more attacks, because you'll probably be earning less HP earned towards progress by hitting those attacks. Now, whoever has first place control over a region will get 100 VP per hour. And this looks like, even though you don't control the island, you'll still get VP for having some bases control, or some bases owned, even if you don't have majority control. So you will still earn VP, and you won't be completely obliterated because the other team has outscored you, but you will not be able to use that hex to progress beyond that hex, which is pretty frustrating and does still limit your ability to move across the map. So, and then the points will be slightly different for the minor monuments and the regular. So all this is my understanding of this. We haven't gotten definitive confirmation about some of the details from PG, but this to me just makes it feel like a much more grindy and difficult event to play, because not only do you have to defeat a territory, but you have to defeat multiple territories essentially in order to control a single hex. And yes, you can still earn VP for not being the majority control, but you can't work yourself outwards without being the majority control. So it really still limits your ability to move around the map and earn points. So a lot of things about this I'm not looking forward to. It'll be interesting to see how it goes first time around. So definitely go onto the forums and share your feedback so that they can see what it's like for each of us players in different leagues especially, and help to promote a change for future events that hopefully will end up being better. Because honestly, I'm kind of worried that all this effort they put into this event now to change it has actually potentially made it worse. I think a lot of people are very convinced that it's going to be worse. Anyways, I hope this was helpful to your understanding and to help prepare for the upcoming event. One last tip would be that if you can progress outward very quickly, then you will have majority control of a hex by simply defeating one base. And then you can work outwards. And that way you can cover more ground with majority control the faster you do it, which might mean defeating the lower level bases on those regions because it sounds like those will be easier to defeat. And once you get to the outskirts where you're starting to get close to other teams, you might want to start controlling the higher level bases because they will be starting to attack bases as well to earn majority control. So good luck with the upcoming event. We're all in this together, and I'll see you in the next video.